Good morning. Thanks for joining us. This is Lisa Estridge.
And this is Belinda Messenger.
We are staff from California Department of Pesticide Regulations School and Child Care IPM program. This presentation will explain the new amendments to the Healthy Schools Act that were enacted on January 1st, 2015. First, let's briefly go over all the Healthy Schools Act requirements, including the ones you probably already know. First, the Child Care Center or school district must designate someone to ensure that the requirements of the Healthy Schools Act are met. The IPM coordinator is designated by the center or school district. Number 2, parents and staff must receive a list of pesticides that are expected to be used at the center or school in the coming year. Number 3, some pesticides are prohibited for use at child care centers and schools. Pesticides that have been canceled or suspended, as well as those pesticides not completely registered with DPR, cannot be used at schools or child care centers. Always check old pesticides before using them and make sure they are still registered. Go to our school IPM website for the list of new pesticides without complete registrations. Number 4, parents must be given the opportunity to be informed every time pesticides are applied. You need to notify interested parents 72 hours before each application. Number 5, you must post warning signs 24 hours before a pesticide is applied and leave it posted for 72 hours after the application is completed. The warning sign should be posted around the pesticide treatment area, not just at the entrance to the center or school. Number 6, you need to keep records of each pesticide application at the center or school for 4 years. These records need to be available upon request. Now let's move on to the new requirements. You need to create an IPM plan using the template provided by DPR on our website. The completed IPM plan must be posted on your school's website. Include the website address in the annual pesticide notification. If your school doesn't have a website, you must send it to each parent with your annual pesticide notification. We will talk more about the IPM plan later in the presentation. The next new requirement, you must report pesticide applications made by employees of the child care center or school district to DPR. We will show you the form and discuss how to fill it in later in the presentation. Finally, starting in July 2016, anyone applying any pesticide at a school or child care center must receive DPR-approved training in IPM and the safe use of pesticides in relation to children's health prior to making an application. We'll talk about the training later in the presentation. Many people are not aware about what DPR considers to be a pesticide. So before we talk more about the Healthy Schools Act requirements, we need to define the word pesticide. A pesticide is defined as any substance or mixture of substances intended for preventing, destroying, or repelling any insect, rodent, nematode, fungus, weed, or any other form of pest. Here are some common pesticide types: bug sprays and foggers, weed killer, rat poison, and disinfectants. Some people are not aware that herbicides and disinfectants are pesticides, but since they are chemicals designed to kill or control weeds and germs, they are pesticides. Antibacterial hand soaps, head lice treatments, and other products applied to the body to kill germs are not considered to be pesticides here. If a school or center uses only specific pesticide types, they are exempt from most of the Healthy Schools Act requirements. Those pesticide types are self-contained baits or traps, gels or pastes used as crack and crevice treatments, antimicrobials, and products that are exempt from registration. These categories of products are exempt from most requirements of the Healthy Schools Act because they present a reduced exposure risk, are used for health and safety purposes, or are a reduced toxicity risk. If a child care center or school uses only these types of pesticides, They do not have to have an IPM plan, nor do they have to report pesticide use to DPR. These categories of products are also exempt from Healthy Schools Act notification, posting, and record-keeping requirements. Please be aware that no pesticides are exempt from the Healthy Schools Act training requirement. When you use pesticides, you'll have to put together an IPM plan. But what is IPM? The Healthy Schools Act defines IPM, but in short, IPM is a common-sense approach to managing pests while reducing the use of hazardous pesticides. When pesticides are applied at child care centers and schools, whether an employee or a contracted pest control business will make the application, the IPM coordinator must ensure that an IPM plan is developed and posted on the center or school's website. If the center or school doesn't have a website, the center or school must send out the IPM plan to parents with the annual pesticide notification list. Let's talk in more detail about the IPM plan. DPR has templates for school districts and child care centers to use in developing their IPM plans. They are available on the DPR website as a writable PDF. Depending on your software, you may not be able to save the filled-in PDF form. The templates are also available as Word documents, but these versions do not autofill. This is the first page of DPR's School District IPM Plan template. And this is the second page of DPR's template. If you already have a written IPM plan, or you wish to create your own IPM plan that doesn't use this template, you must include at least all of the same components as the template and email your IPM plan to DPR school or child care IPM programs for approval. We will walk you through the DPR IPM plan template, instructing you how to fill it out. The first part of the plan is contact information. Remember that the IPM coordinator is otherwise known as the school site designee and is an employee of the district or center who is responsible for ensuring the requirements of the Healthy Schools Act are met. The second section of the IPM plan is your IPM statement and pest management objectives. This IPM statement incorporates the definition of IPM stated in the Healthy Schools Act. The name of your child care center or school district will fill in automatically after "it is the goal of" if you are using the fillable PDF version. If not, be sure to fill it in. You need to decide on your pest management objectives for this section. They should be general statements like focus on long-term prevention, or more specific like reduce ant infestations in kitchen. You can have as many objectives as you think are necessary. The box will expand as you type. The third section will detail your IPM team. These are the people who are involved in pest management at your child care center or school. This box will also expand to allow you to add as many people as you need to. Some examples of IPM team members can be the school district superintendent, the M&O director, or members of your custodial staff. The IPM team members may make decisions about pest management, apply pesticides, purchase pesticides and IPM tools. This is not an exhaustive list. You may come up with many more roles. The next section is about pest control businesses hired by your district or center. Fill in the name of the business if one is hired to do pest management. By checking the box about Healthy Schools Act requirements, you are confirming that you have discussed the Healthy Schools Act requirements with the pest control business and that they are aware of what they need to do under the law. Who identifies your pests? Your contracted pest control business, someone on your staff, county agricultural staff, and who monitors for pests at your school site? District staff, your contracted pest control business, the child care center's landlord. Specific information about monitoring and inspecting can include location of monitoring devices, schedule of building inspections, or whatever else you may do at your school site. In this section, write down all pests and check off any non-chemical practices you use to manage them. This is a record of previously identified pest problems. Let's walk through an example of how to add a new pest. Say you recently discovered a gopher problem. You've decided to install barriers around valuable plants, put out traps, manage irrigation, and put up owl boxes. Be sure to update your plan if you find new pests and if new practices are adopted. In this section, you will list the pesticides you expect to be applied during the year. This includes pesticides applied by your staff and contracted pest control business. This list is the same as your annual pesticide list that you send to all parents and staff. Remember, herbicides are pesticides, so they need to be included. You don't have to include exempt pesticides. This is how this section would look filled out if you were using these two products, an herbicide spray and an insecticide spray. In the Healthy Schools Act section, this checkbox indicates that your district or center is complying with all Healthy Schools Act requirements. In this section, you will verify that employees have received both pesticide safety training and the Healthy Schools Act required school IPM training. We will discuss the required school IPM training later in the presentation. In this section, you will verify that you have submitted pesticide use reports for all pesticide applications made by school staff. We will discuss pesticide use reporting in more detail later in the presentation. This section lets people know how the IPM plan will be distributed. If your district or center has a website, the plan must be posted there. If you do not have a website, you must provide the plan to all parents and staff. Mail or emails are both acceptable. Also, you must make a copy of the IPM plan available in the main office. In this final section, the IPM coordinator reviews the IPM plan and attests here that it is true and correct. Now Belinda is going to talk about pesticide use reporting and training.
Okay, let's first talk about the new pesticide use reporting requirement. If a child care center or school chooses to use a pesticide, they must submit to DPR a copy of the records of all pesticide use at the school site for the calendar year. The pesticide use report form must be on the form DPR HSA 118 that we will discuss in the next slide. The reports must be submitted at least annually by January 30th for the previous year's records. If a center or school uses only the exempt pesticide types discussed earlier, they do not have to report use to DPR. Just as a reminder, these specific pesticide types are pesticides used in self-contained baits or traps, gels or pastes used as a crack or crevice treatment, antimicrobials like disinfectants, and pesticides that contain only active and inert ingredients exempt from US EPA registration. If you have a contracted pest control company applying pesticides, do not submit reports about their pesticide use. Pest control businesses have been submitting their own reports to DPR since 2001 and will continue to report their own applications. Here is the front page of the pesticide use reporting form for school and child care center employees, form DPR HSA 118. Don't forget, this form is only for applications by your employees. Do not include applications made by contracted pest control businesses. Pest control businesses applying pesticides at school sites submit their own reports on a different form. First, fill in the contact information for the district or center and the IPM coordinator. If you have a pesticide applicator license or certificate, please enter it in the box. You would need a license if you were applying restricted materials. The license number for child care centers does not go in this box. That number can be entered in the next section. The IPM coordinator does not have to fill out and submit this form. He or she can delegate that task. In this section, each pesticide application is entered on its own line as shown here. You will need to know where and when the application took place, as well as what pesticide was used and how much was used. Let's go through an example of what that would look like. This line shows an individual application record. We'll fill it out so you can see how to do it. First, enter the name and address of the center or school and check whether the pesticide was applied at a child care center or a school. You may enter the CDS or facility number instead. Now fill in the county where the center or school is located. The date and time when the application was completed goes here. Next, enter the location or locations where this pesticide was applied. The list of location codes is on the back of the form. This application was made on an athletic field, which is code number 2. Both the manufacturer and the name of product go in this box. This information will be on the pesticide product label, as will the registration number. Write down the amount of pesticide product used and the unit of measure. This amount is how much product you used right out of the container, not how much diluted product you used. Finally, choose the appropriate pest control code from the back of the form and enter it here. The pesticide applied here was an herbicide used on an athletic field, so it is Pest Control Code 30. Pesticides applied on landscape plantings around buildings, but not vertebrate pest control. Now we'll talk about the back of the form. This is the back of the PUR form. The pest control codes that you need to fill out the box on the front of the form are here. The location codes are here. When the form is completely, including the reason for application here, the form can be used as the HSA-required pesticide use record. If you need extra space, you may use this area. Remember, keep records of all pesticide applications for 4 years. You must keep records from contracted pest control businesses, but you do not submit pesticide use by contractors in your report to DPR. The IPM plan templates for both child care centers and school districts and the pesticide use report form are all available on DPR's school IPM website on the Tools and Templates page. To sum up, all pesticides applied by both school employees and contracted pest control applicators should be included in your IPM plan, but only report pesticide use by school employees to DPR on the new form. Now we're going to cover the new Healthy Schools Act training requirement. This requirement must be met when any pesticide is used, even those exempt from other Healthy Schools Act requirements. This includes disinfectants and sanitizers. Anyone using pesticides must take a DPR-approved course that meets the Healthy Schools Act training requirements. DPR will provide free online training courses that meet the HSA requirement and will post a list of all approved courses on the DPR School IPM website starting in early 2016. So who needs to take this training? The IPM coordinator of every school district and child care center must be trained if any pesticides are used at their school site. This is regardless if the IPM coordinator applies the pesticides or not. In addition, everyone who uses a pesticide at a school or child care center must be trained. No pesticides are exempt from this requirement, even disinfectants. Employees do not need to be trained when they use products that are applied to a person's body, such as antibacterial hand soaps and head lice treatments. Here are some examples of people needing to take the Healthy Schools Act required training. A groundskeeper spraying an herbicide on a lawn. A contracted pest control professional placing ant bait stations outside. And a teacher cleaning desks with disinfecting wipes. A custodian using disinfectant in a drain. A preschool teacher using a disinfectant on a diaper changing station. Someone using antimicrobial hand soap does not need to be trained. Let's talk some more about disinfectants, since this can be confusing. Disinfectants are registered pesticides, but as we said earlier, they are exempt from most of the Healthy Schools Act requirements. This means that when you use disinfectants, everyone using them must get the annual Healthy Schools Act training, but you don't have to notify parents and staff. You don't include disinfectants on your IPM plan or on your posted warning signs. You don't have to keep records or report disinfectant use. DPR is required by the Healthy Schools Act to create these resources: templates for the IPM plan, and a pesticide use reporting form for child care center and school district employees. We are currently developing the Healthy Schools Act required courses on school IPM and safe use of pesticides around children. A detailed outline will be posted on our website this summer. The courses will be available in early 2016. This concludes our webinar.